And don't even think about anybody coming for you. Not the doctors, not your agent, not your family. Because I never called them. Nobody knows you're here. And you better hope nothing happens to me. Because if I die, you die.
Hey guys, welcome back to Spooky Tuesday, a weekly podcast where we're breaking down all of our favorite slashers, thrillers, monster movies, and black comedies on the new scariest day of the week. I'm Cindy Thompson.
I'm Monica Hyde.
I'm not doing that. I'm Chelsea Duff.
Sometimes you just have to gag.
Well, it's gonna be in the video regardless, so might as well, right? Sure, go for it.
I'm sorry, babe. I had to do it. Hello. Starting off with a bang. We're kicking off an important month this week. We are kicking off Obsession Month. We're getting into it. We're talking about the nitty, the gritty. We're talking about things that fuel your soul, that make you feel passionate, maybe too passionate, maybe crossing a line. So you're so obsessed. And today we're joined by someone who knows all about obsession because he is actually obsessed with us. And he's
as everybody should be, quite frankly.
He is a longtime listener of the podcast, a fanboy through and through. It is our lovely listener, AJ. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Wow, Spooky Tuesday crew. It's an honor and a privilege. I feel like I'm receiving a Make-A-Wish or something. It just so exciting to be here. I've dreamed it, in my head for so many times, and I wanna thank you all for re-inspiring my love of horror movies and just being something people worth obsessing over.
Oh my God,
and it's
thank you.
amazing to be
Wow.
here on the
I do
pod.
have a question for you, AJ. You came to this podcast as a fan of the podcast. How did you come to be a listener?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. How did you become a listener?
Answer the question.
Yeah.
Now I'm like, hey,
We're making you
I think-
really nervous.
is this related to
No, it's not that story. We're gonna do that. We're gonna do that later. But literally, how did you
That's
find
the
out about our
question,
podcast?
yeah.
Literally,
How did you
'cause
start
Oh, like
listening?
actual. Oh,
Yeah,
I thought it was like a
actually.
trick question.
No.
This is a real question. What's the trick?
We're doing a market research actually really quickly at the top of the pod. How did you discover Spooky Tuesday?
Definitely Instagram
Oh,
from
okay.
following you all on Instagram.
You already followed everyone?
I mean, I definitely followed. I don't know if I followed Sydney from the beginning, but I definitely followed
Okay.
Chelsea and Alex.
Oh, okay. So that's
Alex
gotta
from
be
our
it.
Chicago episode, lawyer of the pod.
Anyway.
It's interesting to see that our organic marketing is working and that people who follow me on Instagram might possibly actually listen to the podcast. Kind of hate that a little bit. But also in some
I
ways
love
it's
that.
nice and flattering because I mentioned this at the end of last episode, but AJ and I go way back to elementary school, and AJ went to college with our other lawyer Alex and also Monica, although I
Yes,
don't
but
believe
we
you knew each other at the
never
time.
ever met. AJ and I watched this movie together with Adam on Sunday night, and we went over every single thing that we've ever done at UCLA, and we never ever crossed paths. He was too cool. He was in board club, and I was in indie radio, so we just didn't really
What is
cross paths.
Board club?
You want to tell them?
It's the ski and snowboard club. I don't know if it's that
Oh.
cool, but
I heard
Club.
details
whenever
of their
Like,
parties. I heard about
Meanwhile-
their parties, and they were like, "Whoa, those are cool parties." So, I'll toot
I
your horn
mean,
there.
they weren't. You could have just like paid like $10 and joined the club. They weren't like exclusive.
I do not ski or snowboard. It's not something that
I'm
I do.
sure
Neither do a lot of
Listen to the
people.
Frozen episode, AJ. I think you're losing your cred as #1 fan.
A lot of people in the club didn't ski or snowboard. It was
Oh, they
it
just
was
wanted to go
a
to the parties.
it was a snowboarding club that had it was a drinking club that had a snowboarding problem. That's the bit.
Like a fun
I see.
skiing problem?
Yeah,
Ooh,
a different. Yeah, you're catching on. Sydney, you would have
That's
been a great
actually
member of the club. You would have been a
Here's the
really
thing.
good member of the club.
yes, she would
Yeah.
have. Yes, she would
Well,
have.
whenever I mentioned someone from UCLA that Monica knew, she was like, "Oh, I volunteered with them, like every day, just helping the people." And I was like, "Okay, just too
I'm
good of
a
a person
saint.
for."
Thank you. I mean, look at this. I'm a saint. No, I'm dressed up like Annie Wilkes right now. That's why. Oh, okay. Wait, maybe I should say what the movie is. Real quick, and then we'll go right back to what we were doing before. So we're doing Obsession Month, and the reason that we started doing having AJ on in the first place is because he confronted us at the Hanukkah party, and he said, let me be on the pod," and we said no. Or Chelsea did. I don't know. I was drunk. Honestly, I'm not. It's a
I
little
tried to put my
blurry.
foot down. Yeah.
But I was like, well, if you were to be on, hypothetically, what movie would you want to do? And AJ said, I'm gonna let you introduce it.
Misery.
Oh my God, what an honor she just gave you.
Big
Nice to
honor.
What
It's
were
the
the terms
night.
that I said that you had to complete if you wanted to be on the Misery episode? And what did you not do?
Didn't dress
think it
up in drag as
Well, you didn't do
Annie.
that. That's strike one.
To be fair, I was drunk and forgot all the terms. And
I did
honestly,
too.
no, well, not only was I drunk, but I was nervous talking to the host of my favorite podcast. I was just like, I had like a fever, and I blacked out and just kind of thought it was a dream. And then like a month
And
later, I
then
got a
you
text.
followed up on Instagram to be like, can I really be on the podcast?
It was like a light DM situation, and then I got the text, and that's only then did I think it was real. I still don't. I'm still shaking. I still don't know if this is real. It's my first time on a podcast, so
You're being
I'm
punked right now.
Yeah, we're actually going to drop you in the next 5 minutes, and then we're going to continue on without you. So
You like,
watch
didn't
out.
that suck? Moving on. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
But no,
so mean.
AJ's been involved with the podcast for a long time, much like we'll discuss how Annie Wilkes wanted to influence the plot of some of her favorite books. AJ has been out here trying to hint about what episodes he would like us to do for a while now, because that wasn't your first time really trying to engage directly with the pod. Would you like to tell everybody what your first time was, or would you like us to say it?
I think. Well, I think
wanna
you
say
should
it.
say it, but
I'm gonna
yeah,
say
you
it.
say it.
Monica's
I'm
taking
gonna
charge.
say it. This is how I met. This is not how I met AJ. This is how I found out that
Came to
AJ
know about.
existed.
This
is
exactly
how I came to know.
came to know who AJ was.
Exactly.
So this
Sydney
is the
too.
greatest thing.
We have a group chat with all of our girlies. That was formed during the pandemic. It's called Goodbye Earl. We love the chicks. There, I said the right name. I almost said the wrong name. We're fine. We're fine.
We are chicks also.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. And the best moment probably ever of the group chat was when our dear friend Savannah was like, "You are not going to believe the message that I just got on." But was it Bumble or
It was
Tinder?
on Hinge.
Yeah,
On Hinge. That's a nice one. And she sends us a screenshot. And do you have the screenshot handy, Chelsea?
I sent it to our group chat recently because it is the anniversary of it a couple days ago.
Oh my
Hold
God,
on.
it's been 1 year or whatever.
It's been two.
Okay, well, I can
2
tell you from
years.
memory pretty much what it said. Which his first message was like, "Hey, can you tell the spooky girls to do Carrie on the podcast?" That's his opener to our very sexy friend.
Yeah.
The first thing he has to say to her. And then the second was like, "Hey, I think we went to college together, by the way." But
That
first
was-
priority, you guys need to tell.
no,
Yeah.
no. It says match mainly because I hope you can request the Spooky Tuesday podcast to do Carrie.
Matched mainly. Not here for you. Want to make that clear up front. But I do need you to tell your friends who have a podcast what movie I would like them to cover.
Is that not iconic?
It's
I was like,
I
love
stand by it. I stand by it, and it worked. And there finally was the Carrie episode
Yeah, we
that I
did do
always dreamed
Carrie,
of.
so-
To do Carrie. And now you're on the podcast. So
And now
this
you're
is
on.
just
It's
I
really
stand by
beautiful.
it.
you, Taylor Swift
I think-
mastermind right now.
Yeah. I actually message every girl that, even people you didn't know. It just was less successful.
He's just trying
Just in
to
case
find
somebody
any
might
way.
know us. Yeah.
That's So funny.
Yeah.
That like truly like made my life. There's been like 5 podcast moments that like were the funniest thing that's ever happened to me or most exciting. And that's up there, but it is not it's not better than the people who listen to our episode about a Christmas shark movie and then watch the Christmas shark movie and
Santa
then
Jaws.
propose to Santa Jaws and then propose to each other immediately in the aftermath of that. That wins. Like literally we were part of the engagement. That was the best thing that's ever happened. Shouts out to our babes.
Wow. If they come to you and they say that you get to name their firstborn child, what would the Spooky Tuesday crew decide on? Because I think that's fair.
Annie Wilkes. No.
Santa Jaws, obviously. It's just like how Monica's first child is going to be called Leatherface Blythe.
Leatherface Blythe. Yeah, I thought about that, but then I was like, why would we give that to someone else?
Yeah,
That's Monica's
that's
child.
my
So
child's name.
Only
mean, it
one
would be
name
cute
per
if they
person.
shared it,
Everyone
though,
knows.
you know what I
Everyone knows one name
Exactly.
per person.
There's no other Chelseas in the world. There's no other Monicas or Sydneys out there. Sydney Prescott in the Scream movies is only allowed to exist because she spells it with an I, so it's a technicality.
Perfect.
But yeah, I mean the terms that I came up with in the kitchen at a Hanukkah party were that you needed to follow us in your car and wait for us to get in a crash and then drag us off to a remote cabin and then you could be on the podcast.
I'm
And
really
those
glad
things
that
were
didn't
not
happen.
fulfilled.
I'm
Well,
super glad you didn't do
for the
that.
rec-
I don't
for the
want to break
record-
both my legs.
That's not my fault. The fact that you guys didn't crash, I was following the whole
I'm
time.
a really safe driver. So yeah, I mean
I'm great.
My
to
little
me, it
Ford
was like,
C-Max was just cruising
you
up
have to wait
behind.
until that has happened. Yeah, but I guess the hinge message is pretty good. And we made you wait like a year after that, and now you're here to talk about Misery. So
Honestly, what sealed the deal is that you picked a movie that worked perfect for Obsession Month. And we were
And we
already
love a
thinking about
theme.
doing Obsession Month. And we were like, that would be really actually a
And
hilarious in for Obsession Month.
AJ's
We're doing
obsessed
it.
with us, so I guess it's only fitting.
Perfect. But anyway, we got to start talking about Misery now. So real quickly, let me read the IMDb logline for it. Here it goes. After a famous author is rescued from a car crash by a fan of his novels, he comes to realize that the care he is receiving is only the beginning of a nightmare of captivity and abuse. Wow.
Yeah, no shit.
Yeah. So I've read the book. Has anyone else here read the book?
No.
Boo.
You hate
I-
reading.
He's
You-
going
I don't know. It's
literate.
like a little. I don't know.
Wow.
I've never read it. Okay, I can't read. Is that so bad?
We know
Don't
so many
press him
adults
on
that
this.
that don't know how to read. Our other lawyer actually doesn't know how to read either. So
Oh
this
Oh my
is
god,
bad
what a
for
mess
us.
this is.
It's such a mess.
That's
We're
why we
not
need a
being
team of them.
Yeah, I
I
read this
mean-
book like 4 years ago.
Okay.
No, that was during the pandemic. I don't know. Sometime in the
That
last 4
started
years.
4 years ago. Wasn't
I
that
know. Well, I
crazy?
think I started
Don't
it at
say
that
that.
point, and I put it the fuck down because that's happened twice for me with Stephen King. I love him. He's great, but sometimes he does things that are so incredibly grating that it makes me go insane. Like I had to stop listening to it because there are too
I'm
many
still trying
like
to read it.
gay hate crimes and then like a lot of like anti-Semitic shit just in the first couple of chapters. And I was like, okay, it's too much. I need space from this.
Maybe
Still
later.
haven't come
Just
back.
for funsies.
But Misery, like, we'll get into it. It is so different than the movie, just the way that it works, because it is from the author's perspective. Obviously, it's from Paul Sheldon's perspective. You're inside of his mind, so it's a very like not cerebral, but like you get into the like psychological trauma that he's experiencing, which you can't really portray on screen in the same way. So the
Hard
beginning
to do
of it
such
was
an internal experience adaptation if you don't have like a voiceover. Yeah.
totally, and the voiceover makes it fucking cheesy a lot of the time.
You have
so
to just make it a musical, which I think this could have really thrived on. And I think they did do for Broadway.
ooh,
They,
wow,
I think they
made a
tried to do a
musical?
music.
Or as a play. They
tried.
adapted it to the stage at the very least.
It was
With
gonna be a
Laurie
musical,
Metcalf
and then
instead.
and Bruce Willis, but
Yeah.
I think it was not. It was originally thought to be musical, and then it didn't go.
Wow.
It said it had a limited run, so why are you lying?
No, but it wasn't a musical, it was a play,
It's just adapted to the
right?
stage.
Sad. I don't know. It doesn't say in this single IMDb trivia entry.
What would a song be?
I'm
And it would be like,
misery.
I'm in the business of misery.
what
Yeah.
is she
I
calling
also, oh my
a
God, as
dirty
soon
bird?
as she was like, misery business, I was like, Paramore's here?
Oh my God,
Hobbling,
it's a
hobbling,
jukebox musical.
hobbling.
Oh my God. There's a song called Dirty Birdie. You goddamn dirty birdie. You take misery
She would
away
have so
from
many
me.
good rage anthems.
Yeah.
I think
I
she would rock it.
Should we write this? I don't
Should
know.
we get in the
Should
business?
we actually?
Are you feeling this right now? But AJ, okay, why did you choose this for us? Why did you thrust this upon us?
This is on my Rushmore of horror movies generally, and I was surprised I've been just waiting every Tuesday, just when are they going to do Misery? Because I think it just has for me, I'm less into supernatural horror movies. I like something that could feel really real, and I think this is just the performances in this, the acting and the suspense. It's just always been one of my favorites, and I was trying to think, what is my favorite Spooky Tuesday episode? And I realized, every episode's perfect. So it's really just variance on the
Stop.
movie. The movies are the only variable because,
Yeah.
you
Mhm,
three just kind of
mhm.
nail it. So this, by default, if it's the
Love.
best horror movie, it has to be the best episode,
And
Wow.
you
I'm
think
just
this is
doing
the
the math
best horror
here.
movie?
It's on the Rushmore. It's on the
It's
Rushmore
on the
for me.
Rushmore. And I
Oh,
assume
okay.
Yeah.
I
Carrie
understand
also
what
on the
you're saying now.
Rushmore.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
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 Well, I
All right.
hadn't seen it before. This was actually my first time watching it. And it was a lot of what I expected and knew it to be, but there was a lot more to it than I thought also. Like the whole detective subplot, which to my understanding has been built out more from the book, where it was kind of more contained. But that was so much more of the movie than I thought, which was an interesting way to approach it. I really thought it was going to be more of like a bottle movie where you're kind of just in that same one room
Mm,
most of the time.
I think all detectives should wear these
Have
kind
to
of
bring their
coats.
wives with them.
One, they should have to have their wives as deputies. Two, they should really focus on their jacket fashion sense.
Yes, that was a very stylish jacket. I also thought that.
Ugh.
yeah, that was like one of my main takeaways from the whole film watching experience because I'd read the book, but I'd never seen the movie, and I'd been meaning to, but like, after reading the book, you don't really want to go back for a while because it's traumatizing. Because the book is way more fucked up. The things that happen, they toned
Yeah.
it down.
Well,
little,
knowing
a
Stephen
lot
King
of it.
and what you said about how that one book had all the farts in it, we only got like a
Dreamcatcher.
jug of piss shaken threateningly the one time, and I was
That was
thinking to myself the whole
suspenseful.
time, like, she's wiping his butt, no questions about it. Like, she's giving him sponge baths, and we're not seeing any of this. And I bet we see a lot of that in the book. I bet we see a lot of butt wiping in the book.
Luckily, I have a beautiful mind that deletes information from it, so I don't recall the butt wiping scenes. But yeah,
Sad.
oh my God, I don't know. I was really into the movie. Like when we were watching it together, I was distracted both times I watched it, to be honest with you. But like even being distracted, it sucks you back in because the performances are just so great, and also James Caan is very attractive.
Santa Slay star James Caan.
Yes, I know. Our second
My
one
first
was
thought
him.
as soon as he popped on, I was like, Santa Slay star James Caan is here. I only knew
He-
about Kathy Bates.
He's amazing. He's amazing in this. And I think it really like gives you 5 seconds of peace and then it begins, Like I thought there was more like lead up before he crashes his fucking car, but he really just finishes his book, shoots his champagne glass down his throat and gets behind the wheel of a car.
You gotta drink a full bottle of champagne before any cross country road trip. I mean,
Actually,
that
that
just
is true.
It
I
was
really
basically still
thought-
the 80s, so I think it was fine.
I really thought
Drunk
that he was
driving was
downing
legal
that
then.
whole bottle before he got on the road. And I'm like, well, no wonder he fucking flipped it. And also no chains in a snowstorm and your Mustang. He's definitely a
Are
New
you
York
are you victim
boy.
blaming, Monica?
Yeah, we are. I'm
Well,
immediately nominating him for dumb bitch.
it was
He
fucking
made some
stupid.
mistakes in the beginning. Is it his fault that he ended up in the situation he did? No, but if he had died out there in the elements, maybe it would have been his fault.
Yeah, I get that's a good point. I mean, she saved his life, right?
She is his hero, I think.
She is a hero in some regards. There's an argument to be made, but yeah, that's something that I didn't remember what actually happened in the book because it's like revealed that Annie was like, haha, I was just stalking you. That's why I was there on the scene. But that for a second I was like, what did she like make the accident happen? But I don't think so. I think she just
No, he wasn't
wanted
wearing
to
chains
yeah, he was wearing
in a
chains
snowstorm, driving
in
a
a
She
snowstorm.
Mustang.
does have
On
a
Dom.
long history and some questionable connections to like people going over cliffs and other regards, but like this one was just a coincidence, you guys.
Well, honestly, like there's too many variables. It's like the likelihood of her
Yeah.
dying is so fucking high that I don't think she'd risk it because that's her baby boy.
Yeah, and I also think it's very possible that like she maybe would have done something, but he got in a crash first. So
I
maybe she
wanna
was going to
know.
follow him all the way to New York. Maybe she was like, I have to follow him. He's probably writing the new Misery novel. I'm going to pull into the same gas station as him when we get to West Virginia. And then I'm going to be like, oh my God, Paul Sheldon, is that you? Is that your new book that you just finished right here? Can I look at it? Can I hold it in my hands? Like there's a lot of possibility and a lot of room for options of what she might have done to worm her way in other under circumstances. Switch those two words.
I really want to know how she gathered the strength to pull this
She's a
grown
Hulk.
man
Didn't you
out of
see
a
her?
car, one, and then like throw him on her back and then hike up a hill.
She does
That's
it later
her
with the
baby
stairs too.
boy. For
Like,
one,
She also survives a
Agent.
typewriter hitting her in the head. I mean,
Exactly.
she's
who
a
is this
superwoman.
woman?
well, she is built different. We know that because there's something deeply wrong with her. So she's certainly built different. She's also a nurse, and nurses are fucking super strong. Like, and if she's had to do like caretaker stuff, like you got to be so fucking strong to be a caretaker because you have to lift people all around the town. But also that was her baby boy, and she was
And
like the
she's
mom who
farming.
lifts the car when her baby is under the car. That's her baby boy. So she
You're
got
saying
the
she got a
fucking
rush of
incredible
adrenaline when she saw that
adrenaline.
crash.
She picked up the car, she threw it across, like that's it's that kind of vibe. She's like, anything for Polly, my Paul Sheldon.
My baby.
So I have a question for you all, and something I'm trying to analyze is what exactly is the theme of the Misery books, and how horny do we think that they are? Like, are these, the Misery series?
They do
Is this
seem
Kindle
kind
stuff?
of romancy, but they
They're
also
romance
seem very puritanical. So I think it's kind of that weird space. It's kind of almost like if
Pride
a
and
Scarlet
Prejudice?
Letter was like a pulp series, you know what I mean? Because Misery, that's a very Puritan name. And
Don't they
like
take
she's
place around the Civil War though?
I have no idea.
I
I'm just
think,
going based on my
no.
glimpses of the cover.
Unfortunately, they go really deep into all of this in the book, and I don't remember any of that shit. I didn't retain any of that. But that's like a big part of the
It-
book
Is
is like
it like a
diving
Pride
into
and
the
Prejudice?
characters.
Oh, okay.
Is
They're
it Pride and Prejudice level
Victorian.
horniness?
They're Victorian romance novels. And TBH,
Got it.
Misery
Mm.
is a very Victorian name because the Victorians were whack as shit and named babies Misery and just weird things like that.
Yeah, it's like this is my baby honor. This is my baby respect.
Yeah.
This is my baby sin.
Here's
This is
the
my
thing.
baby.
The
Baby
Victorians
sin.
the Victorians would love like the Kardashians. Like, this is my baby North. This is my baby Saint. The Victorians would be like,
Oh
the
my
honestly,
God.
Kardashians are actually just really traditional, and it's
Victorian.
crazy that they don't get recognized for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish I
So
remembered. I'm so sorry. but they are
I read the
romance.
book.
Yeah,
I was gonna say Monica's like
years
what I bring to
ago.
this episode is that I read the
I just don't
book.
remember any of it,
I
but I read the whole thing cover to
literally
cover.
already told you that I forgot the
She could have read it
details.
yesterday and that wouldn't have mattered necessarily. So don't make fun of her.
No, okay,
Like,
but here's the thing.
Comfort is a Victorian baby name.
Clifford? What did you say?
Comfort.
Comfort. Misery and comfort.
God's gift is a baby name.
Is Comfort a boy name or a girl name?
I think
It's
it's unisex.
unisex.
I love
Okay,
that.
that's cool.
Holly Branch is a Victorian name. So like misery
Stands
fits
for
right
boys.
in. Yeah.
But okay, the reason that I don't remember that shit is because I focused on the one part of it that traumatized me so much that I put the book down for 2 years the first time around. Because one of the big differences between the book and the movie is like the speed with which Paul Sheldon realizes he's absolutely reamed, absolutely fucked. In the movie, there's a lot of like cutesy little shit where she's his biggest fan, and I love Happy Annie in the movie. She's Kathy Bates is amazing. She's so cutie. She's so excited. She seems maybe not insane, a little bit insane, definitely weird, but
She
not
seems quirky,
full.
like
Yeah, like quirky.
Yeah, so she's like upfront about the fact that like I'm your number one fan and I did follow you and I did bring you back to my house and I am nursing you back to health and I do hope that that wins me the first copy of the next Misery book. But you don't realize what that means yet. You don't realize that
Exactly.
it's like the control element yet.
So it's a little bit more like right the fuck away that happens, and he is in this like drug addled state at the beginning, which comes across in the movie for sure, but like not as well as obviously it would be if you're in the guy's fucking head in the book. And there's just this long period in the book, like pages, like and pages and pages, where he is describing his pain like the sea and the tides of the pain like coming and going. And this is so gross. And he's got the compound fracture, right?
Yeah,
So,
I thought
like,
about you when
his
she said that.
bone, that's my least favorite thing. His bone sticking out of his fucking leg. And I don't know like if she like had put it back. I don't recall that part, but
She was like, I heard them moving
similar.
around, so
Yeah,
I don't know if
I don't
that
know if
means
it's
she
like
heard the
already
bones moving, but
I don't know if it was already back in his leg at this point or whatever, but like similar to the compound fracture, he like like his pain was like what he referred to as a pylon. So like like a cement thing that's like in the sand in the ocean sometimes, like a man-made cement pillar. They have those sometimes in like active bays where there's boats. So his pain was that pylon, and it would get covered with water when the pain meds were in his system. But then when the tide came out, he could see the pylon and the pain was excruciating. And you know how this is really boring and you're hating what I'm saying right now? It was fucking forever of this, of the tide going in and the tide going out and his agony and his pain and her like withholding the pills, I guess was what was happening at that time. And
This
it
is why
was
you should never
forever.
read. This is
I
a lesson.
literally, I was
Don't
like, fuck
read.
this. This is literally agonizing. I feel his pain. Stephen King, you did a great job. Fuck this. And I put it down for 2 years.
I haven't read the book, but IMDb trivia said that in the book, the character has had addiction issues in the past. And so like that's a larger part of it too. And that's like a complicated aspect where it's like he had just gotten sober other than his one glass of champagne, I guess, or maybe he doesn't have issues with alcohol, I don't know. But so like also her feeding him pain meds is like a complicated element as well. And if you're saying she was withholding them, I'm sure there was like psychological aspects of that too, of like I'm trying to
Totally.
help you, blah blah blah. So
That type of mental pain. But that's funny you said that because that's part of the inspiration for the book just in general, which was Stephen King's like well-known issues with addiction himself, specifically with cocaine. He
actually
said
a
that
lot of Stephen King's like protagonists in his book are all like authors with drug problems.
yeah,
you
no,
have to write what you
totally.
know.
Right, what you know. Paul Sheldon's definitely divorced, right? He has big divorce guy energy.
Oh
Yeah.
I think he's been
Even-
divorced like 3 times probably.
Probably.
We do
He's
know he has
got
a
all
daughter,
that
though.
misery money.
how's his daughter doing, you think? Like, is he a good
Bad.
dad? Do we think Paul should
She's
is Paul Sheldon a
bad.
good dad?
She probably joined the board club in college. is my guess.
I think
Oh,
So whatever
okay,
that
Tanaka.
means about a person.
a friendly but not like strong relationship necessarily. You know what I mean? Like I think
At a distance.
they like each other, but she wouldn't rely on him.
He
if
didn't
that
get
makes
Gives
sense.
her
custody.
money because he feels guilty and doesn't know how to show like affection, so he just throws money
like
at
he
her.
calls to check in for sure, but he doesn't want to hear anything other than like, "Oh, you're doing good. Okay, great."
When he has something he wants to tell her, he like
It's like,
says,
"Hey, girl, I finished
hey,
my book.
hear about this. Oh, by the way, how are you doing?" Doesn't really care.
Okay, gotta go." Yeah.
He gives a vibe of like does the minimum and then like is really happy with himself because of it.
Thinks
He's like,
the
"I'm a
world's
good
best
dad." My God,
Like,
I called my daughter
I
today. I'm a
slayed that.
really good dad.
I slayed that. Sorry, I'm going back to the drug thing really quickly because there's one more thing to say that's important. So, like, yes, obviously Paul Sheldon, I guess, had a drug addiction problem, but what Stephen King said is this is a quote. He said, "Misery is a book about cocaine. Annie Wilkes is cocaine. She was my number one fan." So basically, it's like Annie Wilkes is like cocaine to Stephen King, and how like sometimes cocaine was sugar sweet and did everything for him, and sometimes it was like fucking
Sometimes you're fucking amped. You're number one fan, and like,
horrible.
I fucking love this. This is perfect. This is amazing. You're such a genius. You're brilliant. And then other
Yeah.
times it's like, I have a gun, and sometimes I think about using it.
And other times it's literally beating you like for sports. So yeah, I thought that was really interesting. Stephen King's been through a lot. He doesn't remember Cujo. He doesn't remember writing Cujo. So
He
he's
does.
come out on top though.
He did love the
We love
Cujo
Steven.
movie adaptation because
He loved this movie adaptation.
well,
This
he
was
was
really good.
very specific that he like had to have Rob Reiner direct this because he loved when he did Stand By Me, which most people don't know is a Stephen King novel, like short story slash thing.
I
Everybody's
saw
like,
that on IMDb trivia, and I was like, what? But
exactly.
I haven't seen that. So I was like, well, what the fuck do I know? I
Stephen
guess.
King, he recently said that Annie Wilkes was his favorite character he ever wrote.
That's because
Oh, no
she's
Yeah.
cocaine,
way.
AJ,
Yeah.
and Stephen King loves cocaine.
And he loves cocaine.
And he loved Kathy Bates'
Cocaine.
performance in this movie. Like he went on to write other things specifically for her after this. Like IMDb trivia said that he wrote Dolores Claiborne specifically with her in mind for an adaptation, which she did do in 1995. And like he wrote the TV miniseries The Stand, and he wrote a character called Ray Flowers that was supposed to be a man until he heard that Kathy Bates was interested in that part, and then he changed it to be a woman instead. So he was just like he was blown away by what she did here.
And
I mean,
And
yeah,
so
why
was-
wouldn't anyone be? Damn.
I mean, the world she won. I don't. She won the Oscar in 1991 for this
And a Golden
performance.
Globe.
Yeah, and she beat Julia Roberts in Pretty Woman. Was one of
Oh
her
my god.
one of her competitors.
That's so interesting you
That's
bring Julia
big.
Roberts up, because speaking of the stage adaptation, Julia Roberts was like attached to that at first. And one of the things he said, to go back to a different one of our earlier points also, is like, she needs to be a bodybuilder, basically. Like she can't be a little pixie. Like she's got to be the Hulk. That's the
Mhm.
kind of woman that we're talking about. He said a quote, brawny woman who can sling a guy around.
Clearly.
I think Julia Roberts can do anything personally, but you know, he's entitled
Me
to that
personally, I would
opinion.
not limit a woman's potential or abilities,
That's
but
just me.
I'm different, I guess.
That's just me.
I guess I'm
Julia,
just
if you're
a really
listening,
good guy.
does Julia Roberts listen to this podcast?
Yeah, of course she does.
She's
so.
DM'd us to
Okay.
ask for us to do Carrie on the podcast, so yeah.
She keeps asking to be on the pod, and we keep telling her no. Actually, weirdly,
And
weird
you
that we
settled
chose
for
you
me.
first, but
What podcast? What movie would Julia Roberts be messaging you guys to play?
I
I don't
just
know.
told you.
Julia Roberts
Carrie.
horror
Carrie?
movies.
It was
She
Carrie.
wants it
yeah.
again.
She said, "Can you do Chloe Grace Moretz month with the Chloe Grace Moretz remake?"
Yeah.
She said,
And we
"Can you
said it's on the
cover
schedule,
my
babe.
movie?"
Yeah.
Flatliners, Secret in
Come
Their
on.
Eyes.
Are you're reading the
Closer.
messages? It looks like you're
Duplicity.
reading.
She just listed every single horror adjacent movie she's been in and was begging us for more promo. And we're like, girl, I don't know.
Julia, this is really thirsty of you. We'll get there in due time, Julia.
Kathy Bates for the Oscars was also up against Angelica Houston, and she was also like up for this role and turned it down to play the role that she got the Oscar nom for. But Angelica Houston is like tall and can kind of look a little like dubious sometimes. And so Stephen King was like, no, I want like a short woman who looks very like
A little more unassuming.
Yeah.
So when
At
she
first
loses her
glance.
goddamn mind, you're like, what the fuck?
No, yeah. I mean, I like the way that they played it in the movie versus the book. I like that there's that lead in where it's just this kind of weird vibe going on. Like, is she being truthful right now? It's kind of suspicious that the roads are all blocked and the phone doesn't work. And it's weird that, like, oh, she can go to the store. How can she go to the store?
Oh,
And she
actually, just
called.
that one road is open, but not the other ones yet. And the
And-
phones are on, but like I can only
But
call one
only
person.
the phones are on only in town. Like my phones aren't on.
Annie is the queen gaslighter. I mean, she's just like, yeah, you wouldn't get it,
It's just it's different out here in Silver Spring or whatever, Colorado. It's not like
Silver
your big
Creek.
city, boy. Okay, you wouldn't know.
Mr.
Mr.
Man from New
Man.
York. Yeah. Yeah, she really
So,
it's so interesting the way that you start to see the cracks, I guess you could say. Not that you I mean, again, it's hard sometimes when it's like even if you don't know what the movie is about, if you've ever seen a poster for the movie or a trailer for the movie, like you know what you're getting into watching it, so you know what
Especially with
Kathy
fucking
Bates is gonna
Misery.
be. Yeah. Like even if you're watching it when it first came out in 1990, there's only so much surprise that's really going to be built into that experience. So from the beginning, you're like, I'm watching a horror movie. I know this is going to be sinister. But it's interesting to see the way it really starts to you get a better sense of like what's going on. Like she's not just an obsessed fan. It's also like don't tell her that she's done something wrong. Don't tell her that she is like can't have it exactly the way that she wants to. Like you really start to see that early on when he starts to kind of ask questions and be like what's the deal? Like she tries to play it cool for a while, but she's only got so much cool to give.
No, yeah.
yeah, I like the way this movie also is kind of like a MacGyver episode with James Caan, just kind of like figuring out, like, I think the most heartbreaking scene is when she knocks over the glass of wine and all his like little drug potion
Oh,
poison. Like that's like I would have not been smart enough. I think I would have just like given in and
I would have just stabbed myself with a spoon.
Yeah, well, do you think she was onto something? Do you think she was like, I just left my
Oh,
drink
yeah.
unattended in this room? That's probably a bad call.
Oh,
I
you
don't
think she knew?
know.
I don't know.
I don't know
I
because
think it's a
I don't
good.
think that she knew because I don't think she could be sneaky like that. I think that she's
Well,
so ruled by her rage that like she
I
would
don't know
blow
though.
up at him before.
Because he put that ceramic penguin back facing the wrong way and his first journey out. And she noticed that and she didn't say anything about it until she noticed he'd been out a second time. So she knows how to withhold information and she knows how to store something away until
Okay,
it is
that's
more
true.
useful to her. So
And
I think even if she didn't suspect him of doing anything, she's thinking through the possibilities of what maybe could have been done and is like, how could he have done something? I don't know what he would have done. I don't know if he has access to anything, but probably best not to leave a drink unattended
But
in
also,
this situation.
she's a nurse. And so, like, I'm sorry, she would notice pills missing.
especially he took a whole pack, you know what
Yeah.
I mean? And like he was putting things under the mattress at first. Yes, he cut the hole in the mattress with the fork and then started putting things in there. But I was like, bro, she's out here changing your sheets. Like, why do you think that this is not a hiding spot that she's gonna find really fucking fast? Like, I
Yeah,
noticed
I mean, he
you
only
don't have a
has
lot
so
of
many
options.
options. He doesn't have any other options. So he
But
was
I just
innovative for what he had.
yeah, cutting the hole was great. I was like, that's a better option because that also could be like normal wear and tear that she's maybe not going to notice as much, or at least not be able to like place like when did this cut happen. But I think she was onto him and was willing to let him think that he was getting away with things so that she could stay a step ahead of that instead of calling him out immediately and then having to play catch up in many ways.
Well, I think that's total. I'm on your guys' team now. You changed my mind because the thing is, like, part of the dynamics here is that she is totally in control, like, of him in every way because he's physically unable to do anything right now. He can't walk, he can't, his arm's broken, like everything's fucked up. But I think he thinks because he's a writer and he's from New York and
She
he's an
doesn't know that they're not called
intellectual.
chapter plays anymore or whatever.
Yeah, he thinks he's way fucking smarter than her and he thinks that she's an idiot and that she's simple or whatever because like she says Perignon instead of Perignon or whatever for the champagne and there's some other idiosyncrasies like that. But she's actually a cold-blooded, calculated killer who's been getting away with it her entire fucking life. And
She's
Also,
a
the Dom
stone cold
Perignon thing,
bitch.
that to me was so like, this is a person who learns by reading. Yeah, maybe they're not saying things out loud, but they're out here reading. So, like, even if she doesn't know the way that he would say it as a coastal elite or whatever, she's like, I learned too, by the way. Like, first of all, I went to nursing school. Second of all, I clearly do my research on you and things in general because the cop comes to the door. He's like, what do you know about Paul Sheldon? She's rattling off biographical information top of the dome. So she's got a good memory too. She's got good
No,
storage
yeah.
space up here.
No, I think that's like the big realization. Now I think that I am totally on your side because like it's so much more sinister if in that moment he realizes that she fucking understood what he was doing this whole time and played it off like this cutesy little oopsie, I ruined the toast, but actually knew exactly what was going on and was so many steps ahead of him. She's
She's
a
just a
smarty.
girl, okay?
Yeah. The
I'm
penguin I
convinced.
noticed
I'm
right
convinced.
away, and I was waiting for that to be relevant somehow. And I loved that it took so long for her to be like, my penguin always faces due south.
Makes you forget,
That's
completely about that even happening.
the direction penguins are supposed to, he's
Yeah, why
looking
would they
towards
face
home.
north?
Historically.
That's not the pole that they live at.
Everybody
is
knows
really
stupid.
that.
Yeah, what a
Hello.
fucking idiot. What was he thinking?
You know, they always say, like, I support women's rights, but I also support women's wrongs.
I'm scared. What are you gonna
I'm
say now?
on any side here for this
Actually,
movie.
I also was like, am I even rooting for James Caan when I was watching
Like,
this? I was like,
am
I don't know if I like him.
I don't know. Why?
He's really shitting on women's romance novels, and like I get that you didn't want that to be your career and you want to be taken seriously as a man, but like you're kind of looking down on women's interests right now, and it's not winning you points with me.
Well, this is a Stephen King book, so what did you fucking expect?
No.
The man writes women in the strangest way. I saw this tweet the other day that was like Stephen King writing about a man going down the hall and being scared. He's like, the man walked down the hall with fear in every step. And then he was like, Stephen King writing about a woman walking down the hall being scared. The woman walked down the hall, her nipples peaked with fear and her boobs boobled down the walk. Like, she was weirdly
I don't see any
horny
problem.
as she went down the hallway, but
I
she
think
was
that's
scared
beautiful
as
writing.
well.
My nipples
That's
peak with
beautiful
fear
writing.
all the time. So Stephen King gets it, I guess. He like really understands women, you know?
There's nothing that I hate more than a sex scene written by Stephen King. It makes me want to kill myself. It's so bad. I love him. Don't get me wrong. He has a beautiful brain.
But
Speaking of women, I mean, should we talk about the love story, the other love story in this between Buster and his wife?
Oh my
Oh
god.
my
of
God.
course. That's the ideal couple, except he's a cop, but he's a good cop.
He's the only acceptable
He's
cop, which is a
he's a dead
small
cop?
town cop.
Dead?
Yes.
Who's dead?
No. Yeah.
But here's the
I
thing.
was so sad.
I was talking to Monica and I was like, that part gutted me literally because like RIP his coat.
It's a really
R.I.P.
good
his
Yeah,
coat.
she could have
Right
aimed for
through
the head.
coat.
Right
Yeah, she
through the
couldn't
coat.
even keep it to
Right.
remember him by.
Like
Through the
aim
coat.
for the
Right,
head.
yeah.
I mean, yeah, I
Yeah.
think it's interesting what they did with Buster because like he's got like you were saying, he's got a much smaller role in the book. But I loved how they brought him out and made him so fun and so quirky and an actually good detective. And I loved all the scenes of him reading the fucking book in bed and getting into it and all of that. It was really fun. But also like this movie already is way less scary than the book. So they like, I don't know, they made it even less of a horror movie for me. It definitely is a horror movie, but I was like, I don't know. It
I felt
takes
like it
because it
belonged
took
in
you
the horror
out.
space, mainly through its use of gore and violence. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think that like it's got too much levity almost because of that, but I wouldn't want to take it away just because I love Buster so much.
I still don't think it's horror for me. I feel like it's very Rob Reiner. Like Buster felt like Princess Bride character or something. You know, it had that kind of
Oh,
like
okay.
that
It's
that
the
energy
grandpa
coming
from
from it.
Princess Bride as a cop.
Is that
It's
it's not is it the same
Miracle
actor?
Max and
No.
his
No.
wife. And
Oh.
they're
Yeah.
in this. Yeah.
Yeah, it had that same kind of energy. But he it was funny and the post-it note and the whole thing and their weird sexual chemistry
Yeah.
or
Too.
lack
I
thereof.
liked that it was there. I also think, like we're saying, sometimes it is hard to adapt an internal experience to a movie. And so if you have
Mm.
a detective investigating something, if you don't want to make what he's doing so obvious or have him say things out loud like a broken tree, a car could have hit it going over the cliff, I should investigate. Like you have to give them someone to talk to, and giving him his wife as the deputy I think accomplished a lot there because it both conveys nothing ever happens in this small town. He literally hires his wife and he gets one phone call, she says it's a busy day. Like she's trying to divert from police activity to do husband wife stuff because there's usually no police activity to be done, so it's fine. And also he has someone to talk to. He doesn't necessarily have like a competent investigative partner. And
How
I
dare
don't know,
you
I
say
think
that about her?
she's great,
Wow.
but she's not really bringing much to the investigation here,
She
I don't
has
think, unless I'm
a
forgetting
level
something.
of sarcasm that keeps their
Oh yeah,
relationship alive.
she's doing great buddy cop
She
business,
challenges
but
him.
She would rather him be a cop in the bedroom, okay?
Ooh,
bring that tone
whoa.
home with you, baby. Yeah, I mean, it's fun. It's enjoyable to watch. I like it. It's a good way
Is
to explain to the audience what is going on in the investigation to make him seem competent, without being like, and we've brought in someone from the FBI to work with him. Like, it's a good way to keep it so contained and also to, again, explain, like, he's not working alone, but he is kind of working alone. Like, again, this is a really small town where even though in theory he should know that there's this woman here who lives here who's been linked to murders in the past and fanticide specifically at the hospital, like she lives just down the street. He's like, oh,
hey,
that's the Wilkes
just,
farm, but like he
Well,
never
I
thinks
don't.
of it until later.
That was
just
in like
because
a
someone's
different
done a crime
town.
before, yeah,
She
people can
moved to that
change.
town to get
People can
away from
change,
everyone knowing
Chelsea.
about her 100%.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
she
she's
like did not
moved.
go through that while she was there. She like moved
Oh,
to this
that's
middle
true.
of
She says
nowhere
like
town
on
for
the
the
witness stand in
anonymity.
Denver.
Yeah.
She
Yeah,
can grow. She
But
can, even
That's
though
so
true.
true.
the library has like a whole like I'm just fascinated. How did he find all those news articles in a row? Like they were really covering the story in the.
That's what I'm saying. He was familiar with it. If he went to look for that and be like,
Same
what was
state.
the quote that she said? Why did that stick in my brain? Why is it sounding familiar?
I want to just
Oh,
point out, like, we have stands, right? Know what I mean? Like, I know a bunch about like the authors that I like to read and stuff like that, but I have the internet. Do you know how hard it is to be like a stalker back in
Back in the day.
back in the day? Like, do you know how much time and effort you would have to put into being
What was
Very
before
impressive.
VHS? Betamax? She's got Betamaxes of those Merv Griffin interviews somewhere that she can study.
yeah, or like she made sure that she watched them, and because
She's
we know she
taking
has great
notes.
memory, so it's just like, oh my god, the dedication. I would be
This
too
is-
Gotta
lazy.
respect it.
This is another point for and I was, you know, to the extent we're gonna have a winner between, you know, Kathy and Paul. Point against Paul, and I'm curious what you think. It's a bad sign if the first person who checks in on you after you go missing is your boss. You know what I mean? Like there's no one else is like like the first call that comes in is the publisher. No one else seems to like give a shit that he's gone.
Oh, and what's her name? Lauren Bacall? It's Lauren Bacall. She
A
is
little Hollywood
so
glamour
good in
sprinkled
this.
in.
I love her. She aged very well. She was beautiful. She's beautiful. Anyway.
There's definitely there's a woman in New York who was like really crushed that Paul Sheldon didn't call her back. I think like 100%.
I think he dumped all of his flings before he went to the cabin in the woods, AJ.
And the next
Real,
day was his
I think he
daughter's
strings them
birthday.
along.
I think he was
His
gonna call
daughter-
her.
Well, the reason that they just had it all be Lauren Bacall is because they were like, we can't have one more woman in this movie. Are you insane? There can
Fourth
only
woman.
women.
We only even have 2 men.
Yeah, let's
And-
not be outrageous here. Let's rein it in a little
Show
bit.
some respect for the cake lady at the end of the movie, okay?
True. So that
That
was
is
the fourth
true,
woman.
yeah.
Don't
We
erase,
can't
don't
have a
erase,
fifth.
don't
Oh my
erase,
god.
don't
We
erase women.
cannot have a fifth. But just back to the Buster thing for just a second. Like you said this earlier, Chelsea, in some way. I would have loved to see a version of this movie or maybe another adaptation down the line where they do that very insular, like that's more psychological. Like if they hadn't left the room as much, I think we would have felt more of the claustrophobia that I felt reading the book because you really feel that. Like I wish I had watched it one more time, but apparently like the cinematography like does give you some of that. Like I didn't feel it in the moment.
the
I was
zoom
very
in on
focused
her
on eating
face.
popcorn.
I think that's a
Um,
lot of the heavy lifting on that is the way it gets so close to Kathy Bates's face a lot of the time.
And
And
also like just what you see in the
the-
shots when he's in the bed, you don't see any other part of the room except for like what he can see. And then once he falls on the ground, then a whole bunch more things come into view. So that was cool.
When he went over to that other side of the room that first time and he was like, I was hoping to visit this side of the room or whatever it is he said, I was like, whoa, there's so much stuff over here. Like, look at all these tchotchkes.
Everybody loves knickknacks.
I loved the set design for this. It was perfect. It was so like her costuming was so perfect and the set design was so good. Like they had like the fucking Mary Mushroom shit up on the wall. Like she's just a
I loved the
cozy
way
queen,
she did her
you know?
I
hair for
love
dinner,
her
too.
house.
I mean,
Her
and
house
she's
is so good.
she's the scrapbooking queen. I mean, I feel like that's one of the best scenes in the movie. Her going through her
Oh.
little murder scrapbook.
Memory
That was
lane.
that's so impressive. One, I love that it said that was memory lane. That's so funny. But I also just love the way she put it together where she was like, here's the problem. Yeah, I solved it. And then here's me and my accolades. Like
I
so good.
I sent you this picture, but I did find it funny on like one of the like infanticide news articles. There's just like a little note in like very cursive, cute pink highlighter that says "another baby." Is that just like
It's like,
another
yeah.
baby she killed?
Mm-hmm.
Another one.
Another one.
Like, another baby is not like like if someone has their second kid, you don't write that on the card like another baby.
Listen, if I ever have children and I pop out a second one and somebody doesn't send me a
Another
DJ
baby.
Khaled cameo with him saying another one,
There you go.
congrats on your
my
baby,
God.
I'm gonna be pissed.
I also love that she's called the Dragon Lady. That's like a slay killer name. Just saying. It's
I
pretty
feel
cool.
like I don't know that I want to read this book, but I feel like there must be so many more interesting details about all of this in there.
Mhm.
We just get like glimpses of it in the movie. I also thought the pig named Misery was going to be a much larger part of the movie, and she
The
really
animals I
wasn't.
remember that. There's like there's a lot more animal related things that go down in the book. I can't tell you what they are, but they happen.
My friend pointed out that in the credits, Misery the pig is in the credits as herself.
Beautiful.
That's her
Yeah.
name. I
Oh my
love that. That's a
God.
really pretty
Well,
pig too. That's
I
the
want a
same kind of
pig.
pig that's in Pig, the Nicolas Cage movie. Like the pig
The
that's
truffle
got
It's
the
actually the
hunting
same
pig.
pig.
ginger.
It's the same pig.
gi-
It's a very
Oh my
old
God.
pig.
It's got the ginger hair on it, and I don't know what kind of pig that is, but that's probably the best kind. If I'm now an expert.
I want another pet pig.
You had a pet pig?
I've had 2 pet pigs, both named Clementine.
What happened to
They're
them?
Clementine 1 and Clementine 2.
One kept shitting on the walls in the garage, so we donated her to a little farm, and then we moved to Ohio, and we could not take Clementine 2, so my cousins got them.
Well, I hope
Well,
both
shout out to
Clementines had beautiful lives on the farm.
Oh, they did.
But yeah, I mean,
Well,
the thing
here's to
about
Clementine 3.
pigs is also that they will eat anything and everything. And so like pigs are great for body
Disposing
disposal
bodies.
if you're a serial killer. And I really thought that was
Another
going to
reason
come
why
into play
I
so
want
far and
a
be
pig
like
farm.
part of this story with her ex-husband or
So-
something like that maybe. And then it was like, no, she just keeps pushing people off of cliffs and stuff like that. She's like getting babies sick and pushing adult people off of cliffs. And I was like, so why is Misery the pig even here? Like, what did that achieve?
In the Amazon Prime trivia, I purchased this movie on Prime and got to watch it again.
Yeah.
I think that was the main reason Monica had
That's
me
the
on
only
for it, 'cause
option. Also,
I'm
Yeah.
still logged into your Prime on my TV, so
Oh.
I watched it again today.
Okay, please don't
I
buy
won't
too
buy
much
anything.
stuff.
I won't
Buy
buy
all of
anything.
it.
But apparently, per Prime trivia, the most accurate form of trivia, Stephen King originally, when he was formulating the idea, Paul Sheldon was going to die and she was going to feed him to the pig. But I guess she scrapped the death and just stuck with the pig.
There's
the pig is
also
a great detail. That is fun. I like that her name is Misery. I like that she's a pig.
then we get the snorting thing. That was the fucking funniest part of the whole movie when she snorts at him. That was the most iconic thing I've ever seen in my life. That's why she got the Oscar. Right there.
Well, and we also get that lovely scene where she's like reading and like head scratching the pig, and then he's just like being miserable in the bed. So it's like a nice juxtaposition.
What is
Oh.
everyone's favorite line?
Oh, I love when she calls him a dirty
part.
birdie.
The dirty birdie.
Oh, I like how she keeps saying oogie.
Or what was it? What does she say when she's like, you can't say fuck, you have to say like, what's the curse word?
Cock-a-doodie.
Yes.
Yeah, she yells cock-a-doodie when she almost gets in that car
I
crash.
love
What?
her like the classic like Christianity thing where she's like very vehement about her rules of society, like you have to be nice and speak nice and dress nice and do all these things, but I kill people for fun all the time. Like it was classic. Also
like-
I
Classic
found like,
Christians.
classic.
They love that.
I found the animal thing, by the way, just really quickly. She like in the book, she like leaves for super long periods of time to like torture him. So he's dying from the pain and stuff. But another part of that is that she leaves so long that some of the animals die of starvation, and it's like described, and she's like upset that it happened and like blames him or something to that regard. I knew that the animals came back and it was horrific, and that's what it was. But favorite line.
I like when she goes, I'm not stupid, you know, but I don't know why. When was that?
I liked that. That's the part when they're talking about the chapter plays cliffhangers, and she's saying like you can't just change. It's not fair for
I
you
love
to
that rant.
change what the ending is when you come in next time, so that it's easier for you to write. Like you have to work with the circumstances you created, which is to say, yes, you killed Misery at the end of your last book because you wanted to be done with the series, but actually, I'm not done with the series, so you need to write another one. And you can't just say, actually, Misery is alive and I was mistaken. Like, come up with something good. You got to come up with something believable.
Yeah.
She's a good
I
editor.
appreciated that. I think also
She's a good editor.
difference that there was that the book, I'm pretty sure, was Misery's Child that he had just finished. And so he had just killed off Misery in the book. And
Oh.
so when she reads that, that's when she gets super, super angry and
Yeah.
that other book doesn't exist. But also he tricks her and puts a bunch of other paper, and so she burns something else, not that book.
Oh, the book
Um,
Misery's
he
Child
doesn't
hasn't been
lose
published.
the book. Yeah, that's what I think. That's what I was looking up all the differences, and that's one of the ones. And that I remember that. I remember him tricking her too, where he burns the random reams of paper instead of his prized book.
How does
So
he do that?
I don't fucking remember, but
He's smart. He's a writer.
he tricked her. He got her
I
good.
do like that change though. Like I think that's a good change because I thought it was a compelling part of his like character journey in the book. I think it's really interesting for him to be set up. The way that they did the opening I loved, where it was like you start with him finishing the book, getting on the road, getting in the crash, and then it's like, oh, by the way, let me tell you what he was working on. He's had this series that's been going on for a long time that he like fell his way into writing because that was what was selling, and so he had to keep writing another one. But that's not what he wants to be doing. He wants to be doing his own thing. He can only get to that point by like literally killing the character so that they can't keep demanding another one, where he's like, this is dead now. It's dead. And I want to do something else, and I want to be taken seriously, which again I didn't. I was like, okay, man, Mr. Man. But like for his character
Yeah,
journey, I thought it was interesting. It was like giving him something to care about, something to hurt him early on when she burned the book. Like that's not just a lot of hard work for him. It is also like tied to his identity, his sense of self in many ways that she
that
takes
defeated
away.
him.
And then she's like, literally, no, I'm holding you hostage to write another one of these because it's so perfect and wonderful and good. And I don't want you writing something else, especially with curse words in it. Like, I thought that that was a great journey for him, and for them to like wrap it up at the end by being like, he gets to write what he wants now. And he finished that whole other Misery book, and now we finally get him to,
Yeah.
he's able to do what he wants.
I like the whole writing aspect of it when she like puts him to work, but it's a little bit different in the books, where like in the movie he's doing it because he's trying to appease her and play her game and make her happy so she stays nice to him and things stay as hunky-dory as they can in the current circumstances. But in the book it's made clear how much the writing actually is helping him keep his sanity, because he's like so dejected, he has no idea how to fucking get out, he's in pain, he can't physically leave, and at least he can keep his mind sharp by doing this every day. But I guess they kind of show that in their own special way where he starts weightlifting with the typewriter in the movie. So
I didn't
he's
know what he
getting
was doing.
Getting
swole as
jacked.
fuck.
Gotta
He
get
got
swole.
so jacked. I loved that. I thought it was so funny. I just love
doing
the
my
face
reps.
journey of James Caan in this.
He's like, I'm still gonna use this sling this literal whole time, but I'm also pumping iron.
And so I'm in my research, and I forgot the specifics, but the hobbling is different in the book, right, Monica?
Yes. Okay, so the hobbling. Okay, first, how did you feel with the hobbling scene?
I shouted when he shouted with the first foot.
You
Yeah.
see it go what? You see it go at an angle that is very bad. And I screamed too. I said, "Oh no," and I covered the screen. AJ was there. It is so much fucking
I
worse in
liked
the book,
it.
y'all.
Do
It was
foot
good. No,
fetishists
that
like
was
this, like that scene? Is that good foot content?
going to Reddit.
Right? Is this
Foot
good?
I
foot
think
fetish?
some of them liked it, but not
like
all. It's not a
the Misery
universal foot
foot
fetish
scene.
positive. I think there's different factions within the foot fetish community,
We love diversity.
as there is
So
with all things. No group is a monolith, AJ.
So true. Nothing came up, so sorry about that.
Aw.
Sorry, yeah. I'll have to do more research and
Oh,
I'll
Do you
for
think
I'll
his
inform
fucked up foot is
everyone.
on celebfeet.com?
Paul,
Probably.
Do you
Paul's.
think
God,
that's his real
I
foot?
No.
Or did they have a
no.
come up? Obviously, they didn't really smash his foot, but do you think they came up with a complete model for that whole scene?
Well,
Yeah.
I
Or do
mean,
you think it's
his
his real
legs
foot
are
for
like
part of
screwed
it?
up the whole time. Are those like fake
His legs look
legs?
so scary in the beginning.
They're
They're so pale
so
and
that
purple and
makeup.
lumpy.
Ugh. Okay,
Yeah.
wait. Let me tell you what happens in the book
Yeah, I
though.
want to hear.
With
Yeah,
it.
AJ, shut up.
Okay. Yeah, so it seemed pretty bad when she named his bones and smashed his ankle joint to the smithereens, but that's better than her chopping the whole foot off with an axe, because that's what she does in the fucking book. Yeah, she literally chops off his fucking foot. So there's blood and viscera everywhere. It's such an intense scene. I do really remember that one. And then later on, she punishes him again for another reason, and she takes his thumb.
But he needs
Oh.
that to type the space bar.
She's got the other thumb for the space bar.
He's
Doesn't
already
Yeah,
need
working
both.
with
you
no
only need one
N on the
thumb. Everyone.
keyboard.
Yeah,
Yep.
what?
Took his thumb.
And he just was
I love
skipping
that
the M's.
detail
I
though.
saw.
I
He's
loved
skipping
that
the M's.
detail.
I thought
I
he
loved
would do
when
like put like.
I loved how she said at one point, I'll go in and I'll fill in the ends for you. Don't worry, King. And I loved how when we saw the page, all the ends were missing. And it's just like, in the end of the story, where Withor is blah, blah, blah. Like, Withor. I thought it was a fun little detail. Per IMDb trivia, in real life, Stephen King at one point had a typewriter that was missing the N. Apparently in the book, maybe the typewriter's also missing the T and E keys, which are the letters most commonly used in the English language. So I bet it was a really unintelligible novel, but you do what you can.
He's doing his best. The other difference is what happens to Buster. But in the actual movie, I thought that scene was so much fun when he finally comes to the house. And I forgot that things go bad for him. So I was like, he's so funny. Look at him looking all around. Look at Annie acting so weird and doing that thing when you're trying to hide something where you never shut the fuck up.
Yeah, she's like,
She's
let
just
me.
running around.
He knows I'm kind of a freak weirdo, so I'm gonna be kind of a freak weirdo, but hopefully just in a different way than what he's looking for.
She
Mhm.
leaned into being a fan of the books, which I thought was interesting.
Well,
And
I think that's interesting, and also I think she kind of had to because it was on the record with the guy at the store. He's like, she has me set aside the first copy, every single time the batch comes in. So like,
And the
she kind
shrine
of
is right
knows.
there.
Yeah, she kind of knows
I-
she can't get away with being like, who? Oh, I saw that on the news, but
yeah,
Also, that's a
another.
really
then
good
she's like, God
headshot of James
told
Caan
me,
on the shrine.
God told me to be the new Paul Sheldon, which I thought was good thinking on her part.
On God's part, you mean?
God's
On God's
plan,
part
baby.
as well.
Yeah.
But also for her to be like, if he finds the book, if he finds anything, I can be like, yeah, it's because I'm the #1 Paul Sheldon fan, and actually I'm the next Paul Sheldon, and I'm doing, yeah, like I thought she was laying good groundwork to get away with things. If
That
only
was
he
so
drank the
funny.
hot cocoa.
I thought she was laying the groundwork so maybe she could publish that book one day and make money off of it.
This is actually where I'm trying to be the new Spooky Tuesday. I'm the #1 fan, but God told me. God told me.
Oh my
Are you
God,
gonna tell?
AJ, there is no
scary.
God on this podcast.
God isn't
There,
real.
well, speaking of that
There's only
scene,
one Spooky Tuesday, except for that band from the 90s that's also called Spooky Tuesday.
I think it was just their album that was called Spooky Tuesday. I'm not sure it was the whole band, so maybe we're good.
so again I think per Prime trivia, there was another like cop arriving at the house scene, and Kathy Bates like runs him over with a lawnmower or something and kills him, but it like played too silly and Rob Reiner cut it. But apparently,
Maybe it's
That's
the
what happens in
deputy
the book.
Kathy Bates was mad about it.
because
Yeah,
she
in
thought
the-
she performed that scene so well.
I mean,
In,
got the Oscar, so it worked out.
in the book, he gets stabbed and run over by a lawnmower. I think there might be a second guy in the book. That part's fucking gross. It's nasty. But it's great.
Ew.
Kathy
Him,
and
her trying
Paul
to get him
also
to
did
drink.
not get along on set.
Who?
Yeah.
Kathy and Paul did not get along on set. They would bicker all the time because, like,
Kathy and
Kathy
James
Bates,
Caan.
yeah,
Mhm.
they like James Caan, obviously, great actor, right? He's been in so many
Yeah, we
things,
saw him in Santa Sleigh.
but
Known
he
handsome
Elf.
is
guy.
he's a
He's the
known
dad and Elf.
He's in Godfather apparently, which I've never seen.
Same.
But like again, like Star Wars, saving that for marriage, so my future husband-in-law's father can explain it to me.
I have
Nice.
seen the Barbie movie. I know how that goes.
Yeah. And but he's like a vibes actor, right? He's like, no, we just do the scene and then it's like really natural.
He's a
And
street kid.
yeah, but Kathy Bates was in like theater. This was one of her first like film roles that she was doing. She was like not well known. And she wanted to like practice and rehearse and like all this kind of stuff. And he was like, no, we are not doing that. And so they would fight and bicker all the time on set.
Apparently, Rob
That's
Reiner
so
was like,
funny.
use it for your character, Kathy. Put it in the role.
That's so fucking funny. Yeah, I don't know. I loved their dynamic and I loved seeing them both play their own games. Like I loved James Caan, like, or sorry, Paul, grabbing the kiss that she blew at him, like cringing so fucking hard, but he's like flirting with her. He's like, I love Liberace. I was front row at his concert, of course.
No,
Like,
he doesn't even
all
say
his
that. He says,
little
who do you
games.
think was front row? Which I'm sure in his brain, he was like, it's not a lie. I didn't say I was. I just said, who do you think? I let her make her own assumptions because earlier she's like, don't say you love me. Don't say you're glad you're here, blah, blah, blah. So she knows when he lies. He's got to be careful about it.
He's
Paul's
their cat and mouse is so good.
Even
Paul
when he
lies
does
to
it at
women.
the
That's
end and he's
the
like,
vibe.
that is the vibe. Classic womanizer. But yeah, even at the end when he's like, I love you, I do think we need to die together. Like that does not convince her. She's only convinced when he's like, we have to finish the book so that misery lives on after us. Wasn't that what this whole thing was about? So like
That was
it's
such a
really
good
interesting the
manipulation.
the way he does lie to her, that can't get away with lying to her, but like kind of knows what buttons he can and can't press. Like just being like, this is not the paper I like is not gonna cut it. He needs to be like, it's gonna smudge and I'll show you. And if you want your nice book, we've got to get the right paper. Like it's a whole
Mhm.
the push and pull of it is really interesting. And when he gives it up after she does hobble him and he like flips her off through the window, I thought that was
Yes.
great.
That was so funny. It's like, yeah, once you fucking like
Now he
before
freaking
I was
smashed her with a
injured.
sledgehammer.
Yeah, before I was injured because I flipped my car like a fool. This time I watched you sledgehammer me and my foot went all the way the wrong direction. Fuck you. If you can't flip someone off, then when can you? You know what I mean? um, but okay, yeah, that brings us to the end of the movie, right? I think the final showdown was the fight of a lifetime. It was the fight choreography was incredible.
This is actually the one scene that I don't love from the movie. Because again, it kind of makes her into like a Michael Myers like can't be
Yes.
killed vibe, and that's just not. I feel like that's not like what makes this movie great. Is not what makes a movie great is that it is realistic, and so I think that aspect kind of like takes you out a little bit. I mean, he like smashes her head with the typewriter, and I'm not a doctor, but I don't think she would be bouncing back from that.
I
Yeah.
think head injuries are tricky because sometimes a head injury that's not serious can bleed a lot, and sometimes you just need one bunk on the head and there's no blood and the person is dead. So like I'm willing to buy in that things that maybe looked bad at first are survivable. That said, I did laugh when she like hits her head like that on the typewriter at one point and
And
goes
that's
down
the
and he thinks
worst
that's it.
dummy of all time. I'm sorry. That cut to the dummy's head hitting the typewriter. I was like, I
That
wish
was
you just
so
fought it.
funny.
I wish you'd shot it from just a different perspective. Like her head was so small. It was so weird.
I didn't notice it. I just laughed. But I laughed at a couple points throughout this movie. There were a couple of things, and I don't even remember what it was at this point. Oh, I did love when he wrote "fuck, fuck, 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 fuck" on his typewriter. That made me laugh. But the final fight scene, yeah, I mean, it's a little like you have to know when he's dragging himself out into the hallway, leaving her behind in the hall, that like it's not over yet
Yeah.
because this is a horror movie. So I think it's not totally surprising in that regard. I did love that her tchotchkes were used against her with the big metal pig statue that he smashes her with, you know? So I guess the pig kind of does come into play a little in that regard.
Did Clementine 1 and 2 get metal statues, Sydney?
No, I should.
Not
I do want to
yet.
get a flying pig tattoo. So that's on my list.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Lemon
No, I guess
time.
that was
I
full
mean-
circle with Misery ending her life. The pig.
Ooh.
Well,
She got
that's
ate up by that pig statue.
Well, I think that was like a little homage to what happens in the book too, because in the book, like she gets big bonked on the head, but she's like, fuck you, I'm gonna get the chainsaw and rip your shit to shit. Yeah. And so she like goes out the window or something. She goes outside to go get the chainsaw and he's like, fuck, like, what am I gonna do? And then she never comes back. And he's like, what the fuck? And she like succumbed from the
Succumbed.
head injury out in the barn with Misery the pig.
Does it eat her?
I don't know.
It better.
It better.
I don't know if it.
And
that
she's not
happens.
It sounds like she wasn't feeding the animals much, so
Yeah.
yeah.
Very Ramsay Bolton of her. But yeah, I mean, I think it is like I didn't have any like major beef with the final showdown, and I liked that that wasn't like the ultimate ending too. Like that we get that moment of like the exhaustion where he's just like sitting in the hallway and he's done everything he can. You know, he was pushed down the stairs already earlier. He presumably had to, I don't know, drag himself back up then because she just leaves the wheelchair at the top for him. Like it's been a physical day for him. It's been a tough day. And he's had this final showdown now, and let's just like she got up again. I'm not going anywhere. I'm like kind of keeping an eye on the situation, but also like I'm exhausted. I'm just gonna lay down here and see how it plays out for a minute, and then I'll get up eventually at some point and drag myself into all of the rooms in this house and try to find a phone. Because also that first one that I found was not real. It didn't have anything underneath the base.
You don't have a fake phone in your living room, Chelsea?
If I found a cute enough pink phone, I would have bought a fake pink phone to keep in my home because I have looked at some before in thrift stores and considered it, but none have matched my decor yet. So
I need to go back and like reassess all my little knickknacks and be like, okay, because I've had 3 stalkers before, and somebody said to me that I would be prime for like a murder suey, you know? So I need to like
Jesus
double
fuck.
check which one of my tchotchkes could end
which
my
tchotchkes
life.
could be used against me?
Or
Yeah.
what are
Yeah.
your clues? What's your penguin that, you know, if knocked over, you would know that it was not pointing south?
I have a tiny little raven statue.
Well, don't tell the public. Oh my
Oh,
God,
yeah.
people are gonna know. AJ.
I have
Damn
a chicken
it.
heart in a jar. If that was slightly moved, I would know the dust by looking at it. I don't dust enough.
Who does?
So the one that is the
would be
book,
fucked in that regard.
the last scene at the dinner, and another thing I read was that, you know, when he's like in with his cane, like kind of like jolling down the street, apparently they added that scene because the fans were concerned that he wasn't like hot. There's like, why is he walking normally? And they like added that in. But even
Yeah.
having the cane after that is impressive. He was doing pretty well.
It's only
Yeah.
18 months later. Yeah, he's made a miraculous recovery.
Seriously. Well, maybe she set the
But-
rest of his legs pretty well, you know what I mean? But the
Yeah, 'cause she is a
ankles-
nurse.
The
Yeah.
initial medical
Ankles.
work was sound, AJ.
She hobbled them in that, you know, the way you can get hobbled and it's actually fine in 18 months. She did that technique.
You know the way
I
they
heard about
sometimes
that.
have to break your bones to set your bones properly? It actually
That's
was
true.
just like that. Yeah.
Okay,
He's a
got it.
lucky man.
And
you
so,
know, he's
but is the book at the end? Did he just rewrite the book he burnt? Because he's like, I'm not gonna write
I'm curious about that
about
because
Annie.
I have seen writers say that actually that's the best way to write a book is to write your first draft, delete it, rewrite it from memory because now you're going to remember only the important parts that were like really, and he didn't even know what the book was about. You know what I mean? He was like, maybe you can tell me what the book is about. Maybe you could come up with the title. So like
I think
maybe
it's
this is
something
the better
different.
version of that book.
So
I
But yeah,
think
I
it's
imagine
something
that
actually,
matters
different.
also.
Yeah.
so
I think it's
Annie
like
actually
something
wrote the
that's
book.
She gets full credit
Annie.
actually. She should be
Well,
there
he
as
even
a
His
says
dedication.
co-writer.
that Annie forged him by fire into the man and the writer that he is now, and he's finally getting what he always wanted, which is acclaim from like serious literary agencies. I know what you've said, Chelsea, but like that's what he want. He got. I understand what you're
He's
saying, where it's bad that he's saying mean things about books that women like, but also I've seen people get pigeonholed into having to do the same thing their entire career to stay relevant, and that sounds fucking torturous if you actually are like an artist or whatever the fuck. So
So
I'm happy
everything
for
works
well,
out
him.
for
yeah.
the man. Everything
I
works
mean,
out for the
I
man
thought
in
that
the end.
was
Exactly.
interesting to me though too, is because he was like, I'm writing for myself now. And like that's we've had an author on this podcast as well. And it's hard when you're trying to if you write fan fiction or whatever, you know, you can write whatever you want. And the only thing that you're crying about when you're not getting comments is like, I could have written for a more popular fandom if I wanted to. But if you're writing for yourself because it's for free, you know what I mean? You have to just write what you write. And then if you're trying to get published, you have to play the game a lot of the time
Yeah.
of like, what's going to sell? What are the market trends right now? What are people buying? What are people reading? It's hard to, even when you've published a very successful series like this, sometimes it's not easy to jump to something else. So like that is interesting at the end that he's like, I'm finally being taken seriously, but even though that's what I wanted in the beginning, that's not what's fulfilling me now so much as she made me into a writer who has learned the value of writing for myself and figuring out what the story that I want to tell is, as opposed to the story that people want to read or the people that will kidnap me and hobble me so that they can read the story that they want instead. Like he's
Yeah.
found inner peace.
It's beautiful.
He was searching for identity in the beginning and she burned it away from him and he had to be forged from the fires like a phoenix rising anew.
Exactly that. Do you
That
write fan fiction?
Oh my
perchance? 'Cause
god.
that was beautiful.
is
my
his
God.
relationship, is Paul's relationship with his daughter better or worse after this?
She's not involved.
She was like, I thought
He
you were
was
dead.
the cake
I
lady, but
thought
he
you
didn't recognize her. So actually, that was a really sad part of the ending.
I did like that part though, that ad of him seeing her everywhere. Cause like,
It reminded me
yeah,
of Carrie
man.
a
Yeah, no
little bit.
shit. His
Reminded me of
poor
that kind of final Carrie
PTSD.
scene, but
Mm-hmm.
same
Yeah.
energy.
Trauma
Less
stays with
Totally.
you.
Totally. Oh, okay. It's time for Sydney.
Segmentos.
I just set her up for it now. Chelsea gets mad every time.
We're a team
AJ,
now.
are you excited? Here we go.
This is it.
How could this movie be gayer?
Am I
If,
up?
if
Oh
you have
no,
something
please,
to
Chelsea.
contribute.
Chelsea.
I
Yeah,
had
I
an
mean, in
idea
many
too.
ways, this was sort of a love story between those two characters, Annie and Paul. Like, we have the pseudo romance, so that easily could have been a same gender romance. I think there's something that is really appealing about it being the opposite gender romance from both the story that Stephen King wanted to tell and what we see on screen, though, where it's like, you're underestimating her in many ways because she's a woman, because she's the reader of these like romance novels that he writes. Like that I think is so intrinsic to the movie that I don't know that I would want to play with that. But like Buster and his wife, those could be lesbians.
Well, I have a thing to say.
An
This
alternate
is it.
pitch.
What if it's not Paul Sheldon and it's Stephanie Meyer?
We need a fifth Twilight novel. I'm following Stephanie to her house. I
know.
don't like that
Also,
Jacob imprinted on Renesmee. I need you to undo it.
I hate that you named her Renesmee. Change it right now.
change it right
Write
now.
me a new one where it's different, but you can't retcon anything. You just need to figure out a new. She legally changes her name. What's her reasoning for doing so? You come up with something good, Stephanie.
This could be so fucking amazing. Also, like, just think of the dynamics of Annie Wilkes, like, being the same religious woman, but she's giving a little
Two
lesbian
Mormons
anyway.
going at it.
But no, but she's like fighting with the fact that like there's the queerness within her that maybe is making her even more enraged because it's against what she believes or whatever the fuck. Anyway,
It's
this is a
against
very
God,
compelling
actually.
story.
So we take away the overlying romance and we make it more of like a subtextual where she's like, I'm not in love with this author. She's just my favorite author. I just love her because she's my favorite author. Girl, do you want to have dinner together? Like,
Yeah,
we're just playing with those elements in a slightly different way.
exactly. And I really
Okay.
would like it if this is like if book 4 is the book that's in the suitcase of Twilight, if it's Breaking Dawn and then she reads it and
She
she's
reads
like,
Breaking Dawn. She's like,
Jacob
what do you
imprinted
mean?
on my baby.
Her nickname
She's
is
like,
after the Loch
TJ.
Ness Monster.
What do you think about this, AJ?
I'm seeing this movie. I'm all in.
Thank you. Wow, it's probably like my best idea I've ever had.
They
I-
bring the
We got-
host
we
at
gotta
the
get- we
beginning.
gotta
It's
get
like, what are
Stephanie
you
Meyer.
doing?
We gotta get
Oh my
Stephanie
god, no,
and
that
all
would be really funny too if they did the same thing and like Breaking Dawn comes out, like is the book that comes
Breaking
out
Dawn
is
just
Misery's
dropped,
Child
yeah.
that comes out, but the book in the suitcase is the host and she's like, what the fuck
What
is
the
this?
fuck is this?
What this alien love triangle? What the fuck is
Where's
this?
that
Go
new
back to the
Twilight movie?
vampire shit? Oh my god.
This is outrageous. Yeah.
Oh,
I saw
anyway.
something that like a lot of like the romance novel books are actually gay men who use pen names to sound more like feminine and they like write all these things and I'm like,
Love.
Paul, what if Paul
Oh.
like went by a lady name but was really
Oh.
like a man, and so Annie thought she was stalking a woman and then like found like was in love with this lady who was writing all these books and then found out she was a man and was like, well, I've got to kill him now. It's a man.
There's so many ways to go to make this movie gayer, but I feel like we're all sensing the innate lesbianism in excuse me, Annie Wilkes. And we're
Don't
all
know
picking
Kathy's
up on that.
business, but
I definitely
don't
mixed
know,
up those names a few times. They're synonymous.
they
that's
got
They're
that
one person.
AJ, you said you listen to this podcast.
We do that all the time.
That's a constant
Kathy,
feature of
Annie.
Spooky Tuesday.
I literally was
Kathy,
like, oh
Annie.
yeah, Paul and Kathy, and they're like, you mean James?
Do a
And I'm like,
half
yeah,
and
sure,
half
same
situation.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're talking about the same
It's-
people. You
it's
know
hard.
what I'm talking about.
And then
I'm
sometimes
just
it's
proud
like,
that
I'm
we
not
knew the
even
characters'
carrying this
names.
character by their name or their actor's name. I'm calling them by a character's name that they played in something else entirely. Because that's how I know Farkle from the movie Ma.
That's exactly what I did in the Five Nights at Freddy's episode where I called whatever that lady's name is, Vanessa
Guinevere
in
Beck.
the movie. Guinevere Beck. That's Gwen Beck. That's Guinevere
That's going
Beck.
back.
GB.
Anyway. What?
This is very, I mean, obviously anything Obsession Month coded is going to have overlap with the TV show You. But, you know, with Guinevere Beck and episode, and then we had Saltburn, which was very You season 4. I could see Joe doing one of these as well. Like that, I'm shocked that that's not more involved in one of the You storylines where someone's like, this is not the book that I ordered.
Season 5. Let's go.
Season 5.
Okay, any other gay thoughts to share before we move on?
So many.
I think if we're doing any lesbian Annie storylines, you could have gotten something more about that with her divorce, because there's something to that, I think, there where she's like, nobody values commitment anymore. Like, I'm a lesbian and I married this man because religion told me I had to marry a man, and he's gonna go have an affair or leave me or whatever it is. Like, I'm not even interested in marrying men, and I stayed in this relationship. He couldn't stick it out. Like, I think that is prime little. Room to sprinkle some of that lore in as well.
It's canon. She's lesbian.
Oh, Misery the pig, chaos bisexual.
I feel that.
Yeah.
That feels
I
really
see
right
it.
for her.
Yeah.
It
Honestly, like,
really. Two chaos bisexuals in a row. First, fucking Oliver Quick, and now
Oh my god.
Misery the pig.
They're basically twins.
Whoa. That someone should talk about that for a whole nother episode, but we'll have to save that for another time. That brings us to, where would Matthew Lillard fit into this movie? Where would you fan
I
cast?
want to
I-
see him be the cop.
I want to see him be the cake lady.
I
Ooh.
I think that the person who really doesn't give anything in this movie is the pilot of the helicopter when they're like cruising around. I think Matthew Lillard could have given that scene a little vuv.
That's
You
great
are
placement for him.
So yeah, we love to put him in a place that no one fucking remembers.
Completely
exists in
irrelevant, yeah.
movies, and that's perfect.
That guy was
But
fun.
also,
All
I
the other
think-
like innkeepers and like the guy at the store, they had like a little vibe. And the helicopter guy was just like, Buster was doing all the work there. He could have used a little help from, good old Matthew Lillard.
Yeah, he could have cared even for a second. Matthew would have said something funny.
Yeah.
And it's
Consider Cake Lady
1990s
pitch,
Matthew
though.
Lillard.
Cake lady pitch at the end. He's sitting at the table. He sees Kathy Bates bringing the cake to him. He brandishes a knife. We look away back to him. We look back. It's Matthew Lillard instead.
Oh,
Picture
or
this. He's Lauren Bacall, the old Hollywood starlet.
what? Okay, I don't know how old Matthew Lillard was in 1991, but maybe he was the other cop who got killed by the lawnmower and was cut from the movie. Maybe that was him.
Oh my
He's in
gosh,
the
there's
deleted
our conspiracy theory.
scene.
Yeah. He was
Yeah.
like 20. It was supposed to be like a
New
rookie
young,
cop.
new
rookie
hire, because
cop.
clearly now they have crime in this area.
And he didn't take the class. He is just about to take his lawnmower class, but he didn't before going on the property.
I swear to God, I feel like I've seen Kathy Bates on a lawnmower do this. Maybe I just really really imagined it really well when I read
Maybe
the book.
at one point
But, like,
you
is
saw
the
a
scene
YouTube
out
compilation
there?
of deleted scenes.
Were you
Yeah,
picturing?
maybe.
Were you picturing Kathy Bates when you read the book?
I think
Monica?
inevitably I was, because I already knew that she was in it. You know what I mean? It's kind of hard
Yeah.
to
And you have
to
like a
take
good
that out.
Weren't-
visual imagination.
Not the Lizzie
Oh my God,
Kaplan version
thank
of Annie
you.
Wilkes
What?
from the Castle Rock series. That's the other the other depiction.
Oh
Yeah, apparently
I watched that.
that was like a prequel or something, right? On
Young
Hulu, season
Wilkes.
2. Season
Yeah.
2 of Castle Rock on Hulu serves as a prequel to Mystery and Annie Wilkes' story. That's from IMDb trivia.
Are they sponsoring the show?
I don't know.
Is Hulu sponsoring or IMDb trivia?
Is Hulu
Yeah.
sponsoring?
IMDb trivia should sponsor because I shout them out constantly.
She does.
Hulu should also sponsor because I use their platform regularly, but I just got an upsetting email from them earlier, so they should have
Hulu
better
canceled.
policies maybe. I'm
Uh,
trying to do that same stupid thing I think of household not sharing, and it's like that could cause trouble for this podcast if they're not careful.
here's my thing.
Yeah.
I have issues with the YouTube TV where it's like, you have to like be in your home thing and then you can go. And so my home thing is like my dad's house, and I go to my dad's house like a lot. So I like sign in and then I come
Yeah.
back and it's like, actually, no. And I'm like, excuse you.
What's
I've
Monica
been
gonna
home.
do? Bring her TV over to my house and sign in? That's not gonna work
No,
out.
I carry my TV everywhere.
Yeah.
Well, I just have the Fire Stick. I can just bring it. It's not that hard. We could do it.
Monica,
I can,
Monica
do
comes
I
over
actually have
once
a
a month from
mobile-
here on out.
We could make it work if we
The
have
the
to,
Fire
but I
Stick
don't
with
want
my
them to
Amazon
do that.
account. The Fire Stick with my
Yeah,
Well,
Amazon
yours
account on
is,
it.
yours is on my TV, so that's literally on my TV. So I would have to bring my big screen TV.
The
to your
TV
house so
belongs
that
to
I
me
have.
now.
Mine is on
I
my
have
TV. I
Amazon.
can't just bring my TV mounted to my wall.
If
I
you
don't
had
know.
any Wilkes strength, you could.
I don't.
That's
I'm
true.
baby. I do Pilates, so like, but I still have the upper body strength of a newborn baby.
Speaking of
Both
the upper
those
body
abs.
strength of a newborn baby, who's the dumb bitch of this movie?
It's
All those
Paul.
little dumb
Paul.
babies that she killed. Boo. Yeah,
That's what I was trying to
baby.
get you to say. I was trying to get you canceled this episode. Chelsea canceled.
Chelsea
It's not
canceled.
me this time.
Those
It's always
poor
Monica.
defenseless babies.
Idiot,
Fuck them
defenseless
kids.
babies. They
They didn't
shouldn't have
even
died.
think that one of the nurses could be poisoning them. Hello, speak up. If you see something, say
Use your
something.
word.
Is it Paul? Like,
I
Yeah,
think
it's
it will,
Paul.
but it's
Not
Buster.
Don't drive in the
Buster.
snow.
I
Don't drive
know
in the snow,
AJ's trying to
Paul.
be like, criminals can be rehabilitated, and that's so true, and it's important to say. AJ, thanks for saying it. But also,
But-
if I was like, this woman has been on trial for killing multiple babies, and she's called the Dragon Lady, and this rings a bell, so I know that I've heard this story before. And we flew right over her house looking at the crash site. I would maybe have gone to have a conversation with her sooner.
She was
I
not
don't
guilty
know.
of those baby killings, if you recall.
I
Yeah,
don't know.
she
I
was,
think that it's
like,
believable.
acquitted.
Like, he doesn't know, like, it.
He doesn't
He
have an
probably read
encyclopedic
it
memory.
years ago.
Sure.
Because if you look at the picture of her, she's much younger looking in that picture. So I think it was like a while back. And so maybe he like just remembers it because it was a big thing back in the day. And then maybe he's
And
like,
maybe
oh,
she,
that
like,
Annie lady
yelled-
looks familiar, but I don't know.
She like yelled cock-a-doodie at some point during the trial when she got overwhelmed on the stand when they were asking her all of the questions, and that's why when she yells it when she almost gets in the car accident, and then he goes into the store and is like, what do you know about this Annie Wilkes? She buy anything weird lately? Like, that's when the gears start turning and blah blah. I don't know. I thought that the way they put it together was like, either he should have thought of this a little sooner, or he's making some really strange connections here.
Mm. I reject it being Buster because I love him. It's
I
Paul
think it's
because
Paul.
he drank a whole
It's
bottle of
Paul.
Don Perignon and then he fucking yeeted himself off the side of a cliff.
It's not Paul because he figured out how to light that matchstick with his thumbnail, and I don't know how to do that. So that's
We talked about that
cool.
a
That's just
lot.
a
When me
cool
and
guy
Monica-
trick.
Yeah, that's just
Yeah,
a cool
no.
guy.
That's just the
You
guy
guys
at the
can be
bar
dumb
and he does
bitches
that and you're like,
also.
oh my God, that guy is so hot, but he's a douchebag. Chelsea, don't fall for his tricks, but it was so cool. It
It's
was
just
so
a cool guy
It was so
party
cool.
trick. Here's the
It
thing.
was
I'm
so
sorry.
fucking
He's
cool.
been coming to this one thing. He should know that there's snow. Why don't you have chains on your tires?
He's never
That would have
been a book in
solved
the
the
winter
whole
before.
thing.
Here's an idea. Sorry. What is the name of the person, the man who worked at the hotel?
Oh,
And
that
he's
could have
like,
been
oh,
Matthew
you
Lillard.
just drank your champagne and you know that because you gave it to him and you're getting in your car and you're driving into a blizzard. Do you tell him
Goodbye.
that
Yeah.
he's gonna drive into a blizzard? Do you say,
I
hey,
think-
there's a
He stayed
blizzard?
one more day.
said-
the blizzard's gonna be done tomorrow.
He said something though, like I think, like Paul kind of you don't always have to give the key back when you check out. You know, because one of those
Yeah.
situations, he could have just slipped out.
He literally says goodbye. I remember that. Doesn't he? I thought
I
there's a
don't
part where
Don't
he's like,
recall.
later, skater. And then he does the
I
thing with the
don't-
match.
And then he's
and
like,
I'm
"Look what I can do."
He wants to see something stick, and then the guy's like, ah.
He
And then
smokes
And then they
his
kiss.
one cigarette right in
Cigarette.
front of him.
He
Yeah,
blows
where
the
he's like,
smoke into the guy's mouth, and then he gets in the car and he drives away.
That was my favorite scene.
that would have been gayer too. I would have loved that.
I actually really liked that super intensely homoerotic scene. I really liked that part.
No, I'll accept a nomination though for the lodge guy who said nothing. I think that is reasonable, at least, to be like, hey, I know that you're done. I know this is your I'm done ritual, but you know that there's a blizzard hitting tonight, right? So like, are you good? Just
Are
like
you
a
good?
single check-in, because James Caan could have been lying at that one point in the bed, but he said like, I didn't know there was gonna be a blizzard. You should have. But
You
I guess they
should've.
didn't have the weather app on their phones back then. So how could anyone know anything?
I don't know how people survived without like a weather app or
They just read the newspaper. They had
There's
memes. They
there's
just
weather on
didn't
the
have
TV in
up
that
to the
day.
minute updates.
He was busy. He was
Um,
writing a novel.
I still think it's Paul for dumb bitch. I think he's the strongest.
I'm willing to give it to him because I don't care for
because
him.
he also underestimates Annie. So
Women at large.
dumb bitch.
She
Okay.
changed him
that
fundamentally
brings
for the
us-
better, and he needed it.
That brings us
He
to
used
our
her for
knives.
character development.
I'm moving us to 9s out of 5s because we had a 3-hour episode last week and we're not having a 2-hour episode this week. 9s out of 5s. I'm
Well,
so
as you might
sorry.
know, this movie won an Academy Award for Best Actress. Kathy Bates also won the Golden Globe for Best Actress. It is well regarded. AJ has it on his Mount Rushmore of horror movies. So
Mhm.
that says something. On IMDb, this movie has 7.8 out of 10. But Rotten Tomato scores are even better. It is 91% fresh from critics on Rotten Tomatoes and 90% fresh from audiences on Rotten Tomatoes. So those are pretty good scores overall. And I'll let somebody else take it from there.
Do you want to go first, AJ?
Sure. I mean, I think I played my hand, but 5 Knives out of 5. One of my favorite horror movies of all time, and I think it just Annie is just one of the best horror. I think she's maybe the best horror villain of all time. She's awesome.
She is Slay. I agree with you there. I don't
she's
wanna
like a cozy killer, you know?
Yeah. This is
This-
a very comfortable outfit. I'm gonna wear this. She knows what she's doing.
Here's the thing. This movie
Her
is
version of Misery sounded interesting. I liked the spins that she pushed him to put on that book.
I kind of want to read the Misery series.
Yeah, I'm kind of interested.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like I want to know now.
Does she pick Ian or Winthrop?
Yeah, we never found out.
Who's the father?
I need to know who the father is.
I'm gonna
God
give this
damn
movie
it.
a 4.5 out of 5. It's only getting knocked down because the coat and how she ruined it, and I'm still mad about it.
They lose
But,
points for
like-
style crimes.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, that
Crimes
I would
against
have loved
fashion.
to have found that in a nice vintage thrift, you know? Annie's great because Annie is like a believable killer. Like, I don't know if the way how she like chucked him over her shoulder and like got him is super believable, but like
Some
if
of us are
something-
strong. I bet I could
Yeah.
pick up AJ right now.
okay, do it.
AJ,
I'm
drive
gonna
over
go
to my
crash my
house.
car. I'm gonna go crash my car in Chelsea's
Chelsea,
yard.
find him.
I live on a little bit
She's
of
got a
hill,
weird
so-
cold
She does.
cul-de-sac.
She does. You
Cul-de-sac,
can easily
so-
crash.
I'm a bad driver,
Yeah.
so this all works.
Wow, he can't read and he can't drive. The perfect man.
Amazing.
Wow.
Do you want to go next, Chelsea, or you want me to?
I'll go next. I think my score is going to be a little bit provisional because my brain was a little busy when I started watching this movie, and I did get more sucked into it as it went on. I did really like the framework of the stuff with his book and the Misery series and the new book that he wants to write, and he's like questioning his identity as an author, and he's like I thought that was all really interesting. I thought that the cinematography in a lot of points was great. I saw on IMDb trivia they acted like this was like an invention, and maybe I don't know enough about cinematography to know, but apparently the shot where they like panned from the detective to Annie driving by was like special, and they did other stuff like that, so like that's cool. Again, Kathy Bates got an Oscar, so she did a good job. I certainly am not yet at a point with this movie where I would put it on my Mount Rushmore. Again, I am curious to like read the book potentially. Well, I'm curious to know what's in the book. Again, don't really know that I want to read it, but I'm curious to know what's in there. I want to read the Spark Notes, maybe.
Mhm.
And I would
Me
watch it
too,
again and
apparently.
like see what the vibes are a second time around. But I had a good time. I just wasn't like enthralled necessarily. I wasn't when she hit his foot with the sledgehammer again, I did shout, so that was evocative. But I was like laughing a decent amount throughout, and I don't think that was necessarily what they were going for at some of those moments. So I would probably give it, and apologies to everybody who loves this, but I'd probably give it like a 3.5 for first viewing. And I could see that improving over time, but that's where we are for right now.
She's
Okay,
just doing
cool.
that because you wrote hags in her yearbook in like 4th grade, AJ.
AJ
and
was like,
she's
I don't
mad.
know if we'll be friends in the future. Maybe. He didn't anticipate that he
Well,
was going to
now
be on
that
my
you
podcast,
now that you
AJ.
gave Misery a 3.5, I think I can rely on that
He's going to go
as
back.
it really being up in the air. I did hope. Was the summer good?
You
The
go with
summer after
that?
8th grade. Yeah, I think it was good. I mean, I like went to camp, so
And
that's
that was
cool.
with my best wishes, fueling your summer. So you can thank me for
It's
that.
actually really that was actually really big of him, actually.
He was like, we weren't that good of friends this year, but who knows in the future? So
Who knows? Maybe I'll be on your podcast.
I love how earnest you are, you know? That's one of my favorite things about you. You're gonna say it how it is.
Just commenting on the ebbs and flows of the friendship in the
Mhm.
yearbook.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was a half page in the yearbook there.
Beginning
But
of 8th
okay,
grade was rough.
I'm gonna do my knives out of fives real quick. I'm going to give this one like a 4.3. For me, I think that this was an incredible movie and I loved seeing Kathy Bates finally do the damn thing. It was really like a fucking amazing performance and it deserves all the hype and all of the parodies and all that shit that I've seen a million times throughout my entire life. I just wish that this had been a scarier movie. It didn't need to be more gory, but I think that it probably should have been. I don't know. And I think that like if they had taken out some of the sillier bits and focused more on like the
Psychological horror.
claustrophobia and the psychological aspects of it, it would have been more effective because I really did miss that in this movie just in comparison to the books. It is really fucking haunting. Books.
So much of
Just
it in the
one
movie
book.
is like he's chugging away at his book, chapter 15, chapter 28, chapter 34. Yeah.
And it's not like James Caan did a bad job acting. He was fine. It wasn't amazing. He's so outshined by Kathy
He
Bates.
didn't get
But
an
like
Oscar.
yeah, but like you can't compare with her. He doesn't have enough source like material to even work with. But like he did such a good job of like playing the cool guy and like playing the game or whatever that you don't get to see those like raw moments of unadulterated fear enough for me to
Should have
feel
gotten a
so
guttural
as
scream.
scared for him. Like the it's very nerve-wracking when he's going about the house and he knows he has to get back at a certain amount of time, but like I don't know. I feel like it could have made me care more. And so that was a little frustrating. But that said, I still really, really liked it. I liked it upon second watch. I'm really glad we watched it. And it's the perfect movie for Obsession Month. So thank you, AJ. Seriously, this was such a fun way to kick it off. And it's also been really nice to just have your constant praise for 2 hours. Like, I really like it. And if you could
I liked when
keep
he said
doing
every
that
episode is perfect.
all the time, yeah, I really liked
Because
that
we
too.
also think that too. So
Yeah.
We'll let the simping continue, and thank you for having me on the show. Anytime, hopefully, it doesn't get too many bad reviews of me taking away from the perfect trifecta. But I
They're
really
all gonna
appreciate
love
it. It's a
you.
dream come true.
Aw. Well, I
He
know
wants
you
the
didn't want to
hearts.
reveal your last name, so I figure you don't want to reveal your social media either, but if you do, you'd say it now.
I, I I don't even know
Any
why I'm
plugs?
hiding it, but if my plug, I guess, is if you need to sue your boss or ex-boss or a cop, I guess contact, Spooky Tuesday, and
You can
they'll,
DM us, that's fine.
we'll
yeah,
slide into his
and then
DMs
We're
for
slide
the
you.
into my,
connect, yeah.
We'll be the middle women.
exactly,
We'll be the
exactly.
connect.
So
The
yeah, wrongful
hinge, if you
termination,
will.
sexual harassment, civil rights, all the good stuff. We like to sue bad people. So
AJ, do you want to give your ex-girlfriend a shout out?
Oh yeah, she listens
also
too.
listens.
Sydney.
shout out to everyone that I've turned on to the podcast.
Sydney, I swear to fucking God.
We
Anyway,
are on her top
moving
Spotify
on.
list. AJ told us that, so AJ's the one who's brought it to our attention. We
Well,
didn't.
whatever.
We're not
We'll shout you
stupid.
out. Hey, girl.
Hey,
We
girl.
love you too. Maybe more than AJ. Who knows?
I'm gonna change the subject to save AJ. What are we doing next week, girl who's not me, who wants to introduce the movie?
I'll introduce it because Sydney was being a hater about it earlier. But we're doing the 2009 movie. It's incredible. I watched it at some point on my computer while I was cleaning my room in college, and it kept my attention, so I know it's great. And it's got Beyonce in it, so again, you know it's amazing. It's called Obsessed. It's got Ali Larter, Idris Elba, and Beyonce.
Oh, Beyonce.
And what
It has
more
Idris
would
Elba?
you like?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
Beyonce's husband.
That's who they're
In-
both obsessed
Wow.
with.
Which, like, I get it.
and-
It's a believable
fair.
movie.
Uh-huh.
I am so excited for this now. I don't know anything about this movie. I've never seen it before. I just knew Beyonce's in it.
I literally
I've seen it.
suggested this movie.
It is then why were you trying to take it off the schedule?
Oh, because there was,
Changed
what
your
was
mind
it?
about it.
No,
We'll discuss it later. We have 5 minutes left until it's 2 hours. Shut up. That's it. That's
It'll be
the end.
shorter when you
We're
cut me
doing-
out in post.
No, I'm kidding. But we're doing Obsessed next week. Obsession month continues. But before we close the book on Misery, what is our poll question? AJ, do you have a question for our listeners? We ask it on Spotify, and it's a poll
Oh my-
question, so it's multiple choice.
Oh my God. I thought I was
It's the
prepped.
hardest part
I
of the
messed it
episode
up.
for us too. It's really fucking hard. It's so
The
hard.
open question, I'll buy AJ some time. The open question could be, what is one or more of the movies on your Mount Rushmore of horror?
Oh,
Ooh,
that's
I have
good.
an
The
idea.
other one I was gonna say is if you could kidnap any artist to make them rewrite something, what would it be?
Ooh.
it's obviously
for me-
Stephanie
That's a good poll
Meyer and
question.
For me,
That's a
it's
good
Game of
poll
Thrones.
question.
Like the Game of Thrones
That's
last
great.
season. We gotta just they don't get a rewrite.
You
We
want
just
it,
kill
DB
them
and
and have someone
Whites?
else. Yeah,
That's a really
they
good
get
one.
bonked. They get bonked, and
Big
someone else
bonk.
gets to finish it.
We
Big
burned
bonk.
their spec script of whatever Star Wars project they were trying to leave to work on instead.
perfect.
and-
That's perfect. I love it. Sorry, Adam is screaming at the top of his lungs downstairs, so I got scared. I don't know
Can't hear
what's
him.
going on.
classic Adam.
Anyway, well, AJ,
Is he
thank you so
tied
much for
up? Is he
coming
tied-
on the
is he-
pod.
Did you
No,
break
he's
Adam's
not
legs?
tied up. He's
His
fine.
legs?
What
If
are
you
you
wanna
talking
come
about?
Did you
over,
hobble-
I did just
did you
make a
hobble his
delicious
legs?
pot of cocoa,
I did-
and you'd be
I
welcome
did
to have
not
a
hobble
cup.
him. I did
You
not
didn't
hobble
hobble
him.
Adam?
But I reject the allegations that I hobbled my boyfriend.
I don't. I think that's very accurate, actually.
Well, anyway, if you want to write us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts with no accusations of me hobbling Adam, please do. I know that that AJ here has written us a 5-star review. Have you? If you haven't,
10
then
stars, actually.
you better have
He's
written us a
evading the
5-star review.
question.
Wow.
AJ is going to be writing a 5-star review this week, so you should too.
I
Because
don't-
AJ's
I
so
don't use
cool, right?
Spotify
Except
or
for this
Apple.
one
I use
big
Pocket
flaw.
Casts.
Well,
I use Pocket
download.
Casts.
I don't know what that
Well,
is,
you
but
have
I
it. I
believe
have-
that you have an iPhone and you can go into the app, AJ.
Do
You
this
don't
for
have
us.
to use
I'm
it
going into the app.
forward.
I'm going into the Spotify app right now.
You're gonna have to listen to it for a little bit, just so you know, before you can rate it. But I believe in you. You're a lawyer. You have a way with words. Anyway, why not also follow us on social media? We're at spooky_Tuesday on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, everything pretty much, especially YouTube, where you can watch and see AJ's face. I almost said your last name in real time.
I would have bleeped
It's
it out.
Very exciting. It's very exciting. I had restraint.
It's hard because he's a
also-
firstie lasty.
He is
I
such
know,
a
I
first
have
Is
last
this
name.
working? I'm trying to. Oh, this is a bad podcast.
I don't
I'm
know.
trying to
Now
rate
go
the
on
show.
Apple Podcasts and say something nice.
I'm gonna say
Five-star
something really
review.
nice.
He's gonna do
about
it. He's gonna do it and be like,
the
"I've
best
been a guest
guest.
and I had the best time of my
Yeah.
life." You should. That would be
5 out of
hilarious.
5.
Would be
5
really
out of
funny.
5 to being a guest.
5
on
out
the
of 5
show.
because I was on it.
Yeah, I think that's hilarious. And then also, if you still do Facebook and Tumblr, we're at Spooky Tuesday Pod on those. And I have to say, thank you for listening, AJ. And see you next Tuesday. Not AJ.
Thanks for having me.
You cock-a-doodie!
Spooky Tuesday was created by Monica Height, Sydney Thompson, and Chelsea Duff, and edited by Sydney Thompson. Our gorgeously spooky tunes are all thanks to Tamra Simons, who you can follow on Instagram at Captain Tamra, and our podcast art is by Mary Murphy, who you can find on Instagram at the_moon_omg.